everybody, and good morning. It's Friday. TGIF, Alex, Stacy, Purple Princess, all of you on TikTok joining us. Welcome and good morning, everybody. It's coffee time conversation and a little hypno shop talk. And yeah, it's Friday. I don't know about you guys, but it's been this week has just it has gone. Oh, nice to see you, Stacy. It's been like, the air quality. Oh yeah, let's talk about the air quality. I am so sorry. Well, I would love to be able to fix that. I know what you guys are going through. We had that. Typically that's our summers. So and I moved to the Okanagan, which means that probably eventually it's going to be even like worse here than it is right now. We've had a bit of a smoke, but it's kind of blown through. So we've been lucky. We've had a lot of wind these days. And so it's kind of come in, settled. And the other night when we were at the lake, it was there. You could see this like odd upper line of smoke. And then the next day we did get lucky that we had a bit of a windstorm. And as you guys all know, during our live on Monday, power outage. So yeah, it's been blowing itself out. So hopefully you guys, for all of you who are dealing with the smoke right now, my heart goes out to you because I know it's just no fun, especially you guys are coming up on 4th of July. We've got the Canada Day long weekend this weekend. So those of you in North America celebrating, I don't know if it's much of a celebration here in Canada these days, but we're making the best of it. And it's there's a lot of things changing. Yeah, it does hang in here. Like it is like a fog, and it's that thick denseness and the smell. That's always what gets me, is the smell of it. When you wake up and you're like, oh, I feel like I smoked and smell like I smoked a pack of cigarettes. And for an ex-smoker, because I was, that I hate that feeling in my chest now. It's funny, we do fires during the wintertime, and I always dread the next day because I feel like I smoked because of the fire smoke and breathing it in. And when I smoked, I didn't notice it, but now that I don't smoke, I completely notice it. So it's funny how things change as we make different lifestyle changes in our journeys. Yeah, it does get trapped in the mountains. I know it was really bad a couple weeks ago here, and we were just hoping for rain because the rain really does help like bring it down and disperse it. So hopefully you guys get enough rain, not enough rain to take away from the summer, but enough that it just clears it out and gets it out of the atmosphere a little bit more, and also helps diminish those fires. That would be great, right? But I haven't been keeping up with the news that much because it's been kind of taking a break from all the stuff. So I'm not really sure where they're at. But this morning, hypno shop talk. Let's talk about this. So I made this point yesterday on TikTok about when you guys are meditating, when you're learning to go into trance, or even if you are experienced at it, but you get into that space of struggling because, we try to, oh, I will, Stacy. Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We try to, get into this place where we're creating rest and relaxation. We're getting into this place where we can get into that upper connection, that deeper connection, that inner connection, depending on your intent and purpose for what you're doing. But sometimes, especially if we're new at this and we haven't had the experience of what calmness feels like for ourselves, or we don't have something to anchor into that feeling and that sensation. And when we're trying to meditate and we're thinking, breathe in calmness or breathe in peace and let go. Well, we all know what stress looks like. We all know what it feels like. And we're all really good at letting that go. But in kind of acknowledging what that is doing for us. But on the flip side, a lot of us don't know what calmness or peacefulness feels like for ourselves. And here we are trying to create something, but we have no tangible component to it. So in our mind, we're coaching ourselves to feel calm, to feel at ease, to feel peace, yet we don't really have anything to relate it to. And so when we do that, and I was writing scripts yesterday, and journeys, little ways to channeling to get you guys for meditation Mondays. And when I write out a script, I write out the whole thing as if I'm doing a session. And because that just kind of anchors it into my brain so that it's more automatic. And then that foundation is there. And then when I'm in it and guiding it, the flow happens and I can go in different directions. When I'm channeling it, we do these sessions, whether it be a group session, a Monday meditation, or a one-on-one session. A lot of the work that we do, for me, is in a channeled space where I actually see the scroll of words across my forehead of what to say next. And what, for me, that is your guys tapping in and kind of writing out what it is that needs to be said to help you get to that place where you can access the information that you need or want or seek or looking for, or to that place where they can guide you to the most appropriate place to stop at, to look at, to examine, to for your highest and greatest good. So depending, on where we're going, what we're doing, I'll see this scroll, and it happens in my group sessions. It still happens because, as much as it's a group session, with my intuitive gifts, I have that openness to kind of see and hear what everybody's guides and spirit team is offering to help you get to that next level. And I'm really the translator at that point, because I'm translating what it is that I'm seeing in my head, and just in a way that it's understandable, because I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but sometimes I get light codes and it doesn't feel like it's English, but it does get translated in my head at some point. So I do understand mostly what I'm being guided to do, or they're trying to inform me of information. So this is like one of my little, one of my processes that I'm not even sure if I've really shared this out loud. But yeah, so that is how I work most of the time when we're in session. And sometimes I will like close my eyes and just watch the scroll and then repeat it and open my eyes, and we continue on. So I was writing down something I was getting in my head yesterday, and that's it is kind of neat. You know what? I never actually really thought about it, Stacey. I was like, it's just my way. It's just like when I know when the group or the individual that I'm working with, even on Monday meditations, when you guys have all kind of hit that space, I see this beautiful indigo ray of light that comes over from basically the forehead, third eye, the crown area. And then most people's auras start to layer through the vibration as to where they're going above them, but where they are within them as well. And so those are two things that I utilize to kind of confirm that, okay, we are in this space, we are ready. I still do a lot of physical tests to like show you that you're in that space, but as we've worked together, that is just my indication. Go, go, go. Seeing the aura, feeling, seeing the scroll across my eyes, across my forehead of what's next. And that way I know that you're deep enough to access all that is without having, even at points in the beginning, people will get there very quickly when we're working together. And I still enjoy the process. So I don't skip the process. It just gives me that, okay, now we are where we are. If we need to go somewhere, or because sometimes, when I do my home base, bringing you back to your physical body, bringing you back to center, grounding, calming, people are already in a past life, or they've already moved, but and so it just gives me that little indication that is happening. And it was there when I had lost my sight, and it was my way of working through the course and the trainings that I took. When I couldn't physically see somebody, I was able to utilize that, and that was always there. Like that. The funny thought is, when I regained my sight in my right eye and some in my left eye, right eye, fully in the left eye, 90% in my right eye. I actually thought I would lose that would just drift away, because it was a tool that my guides were giving me when I couldn't see, when I needed to be able to know where people were at without bothering people during the process, and always checking in, and it stayed, which is kind of neat because I love the fact that it stayed. It's such it's no different in when it comes to the vitality and the colors and the way I see it, but it's really neat to see it with your eyes open. And when I was a kid, that was never the case. Seeing it with my eyes open always scared me more than it did when I was sleeping, just because that usually meant spirit was coming, and I, didn't know where to do, what to do with that. So, but yeah, so this is like my process. And so as I was writing this next journey, that's it. Right? It is a little bit of a like a superpower. No, you know what? I just didn't know if it was attached to the fact that I couldn't see. Um, and the reason I questioned it back in the day was because my reason for losing my one of the purposes, I'm going to say purposes for me having to go through that time period of being blind was because I wasn't utilizing those gifts and I was denying them. And so when I lost my sight, the ability to connect and see and interpret and feel and um, vibration and auras really did help me move through the world a little more easily and little more fluidly than it helped remove the cumbersome of being visually impaired and having to get around. That was how I utilized a lot of things, was looking for energy, seeing people's energy. It's how I was able to look people in the eye and speak to them. I couldn't see their eye. I mean, I knew their eye color, but I couldn't see it. But I was able to focus on their third eye chakras and really kind of focus in that area. So when I was speaking to somebody, I was able to hold that space, and it really helped me get comfortable actually with admitting that I could see auras, that I could see vibration, that I could, see those on the other side that were coming forward to communicate. So it was a big lesson, right? And um, yeah, I just didn't know how it was gonna download and transition to my eyesight coming back, if that was gonna get in the way. Because sometimes we start to second guess things when we're looking at something with our physical eyes. We start to, you know, I used to at least be like, oh no, that's not real. My eyes are just playing tricks on me, and have these excuses. So it was a little weird because I really got to the point where that was my comfort zone. Guiding people was just like, oh, there it is. There's the purple. Let's go. Let's roll. You know, um, and it settled me in a session, because I don't know if a lot of people talk about this, but when you're first working with somebody in that first session, um, it's like, okay, where are they going to go into that space? How are they going to move into that space? Like, it's a discovery session, right? You're learning that about that person, what they're like, how they want to be guided. So there's this huge, wonderful thing happening, because you're in this like getting to know space, building that rapport. But you have this, and to this day, even though I know everybody can do it, everybody can go into it, getting there, you will get there. We just got to find your flow to it, which I love that part of it, because it's like the adventure. Like, here we are. Okay, let's go here and see where we go. And um, I don't ever doubt that you're gonna get there, but I still get that little nervous feeling, right? Like a little like, oh, and that nervous feeling I love in a way, because it keeps me on my toes, right? It's not a bad thing. It's not like, oh my God, what if? I don't have that as a rule. It's just more like this little nervous, like, here we go, here we go. And seeing the aura come over the indigo, it's like, yeah, there we are. Okay. So, and I always check mark that. I always make a little note. This is what we were doing when so and so, dropped into that space where we could then begin to access all that is. And I have that little note, because that is like, that'll be that process. And then we deepen it and we explore with it and we play with it. And but we get into this more like, okay, we're here, let's go, let's play, let's be. And yeah, it just kind of shifts things. So it was interesting to think when I used to see shadows in my, oh yeah. Yeah, I used to try to ignore the shadows all the time. I'd be like, or they fly by you and you're like, yeah. Or I used to ignore the yelling my name. Yeah, when they used to yell my name when I was a kid. Not cool, because I always used it was always in a female's voice too, so I always thought it was my mom, so I would be, like, so frustrated because I'd be out in the barn doing my chores, hanging out with the horses, doing what I do, and I hear and it's funny because I don't go by Jennifer. My mom, however, always calls me Jennifer, and, I would the female guide in my life would always say Jennifer. So I always associated that to my mom. So I would go in there and I'd be like frustrated. I had to stop what I was doing and I'd be stomping in the house. I'm like, what? Oh, I'm busy. Right? Because you're a kid, right? You don't think about and she wouldn't be home. My dad would be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Mom went out like 25 minutes ago, half an hour ago. And that would scare the whoops out of me. I know it was sneaky. It was totally sneaky that they would use my full name. And I would, and then I would be terrified and I wouldn't go back out to the barn and I would be like, I don't want to go out there because then I didn't understand it. Because it was easy for me to be like, oh, it's my mom. And when I discovered it wasn't, I think deep down I always knew it wasn't my mom because the voice was much different. The tone of the voice was so different. But yeah, I still like, she knew exactly how I know, right? But the problem is, she got my attention, and then I'd be like, giddy up, you turn the opposite direction, which was always funny because that seemed to be a reoccurring pattern that I definitely had to unwind in my life because I seem to always be the person that if guided, with amazing information, hey, this might be what you want to you might want to be exploring this or go, staying with this avenue. Because I would go get readings and our readings would come to me. And then when I was younger, I loved it. Like I was always so intrigued by it. And then I would do the opposite if I didn't like what they said. Oh, looking back, it's so fun, right? Hindsight's 2020. And I look back at my teenage self and how defiant I needed to be, and chose to be, even though deep down I absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, knew that they were actually correct. But because I didn't like what they said, I was going to prove to the universe, prove to my all-knowing self that I would do it my way. Talk about your free will just really anchored in there. Like nobody's going to say, hey, this is a better choice for you to help you get you where you want to go. But if it didn't include what I wanted it to include, then I was like, well, I'll just prove you wrong. Yeah, that's probably why I have my relationship with my guides and spirit team as I do, because, they're kind of now, they're like, yeah, we're not telling you anything. Nope. So me getting readings is actually very insightful, not because they're like, no, we're not telling you anything, because I spent a good portion of my incarnation going, I don't like that, change that. Nope, you know what? I'm going to do it my way anyhow. Thanks, peace. So we're clear? They have not steered me wrong ever. And I probably have to sing the song. So because that they were right. And I wasn't wrong. I just chose to, take along like right. We fought our independence. It was necessary actually now because I am much more like aware of that guidance, and I welcome the fact that taking the long route. Been there, done that, got that t-shirt, that handbag, that lipstick. I'm good. I'm good to take the fast track route now. I don't need to do it the hard way. I don't need to climb over 7 mountains when there was only really one to climb. And I don't need to make the 7 mountains to climb because, I have changed. And so cheers to that one, because life is getting a little bit easier. Doesn't mean that life doesn't have hiccups and U-turns in it, but I'm learning to make those U-turns a little bit faster and asking for that higher guidance. And coming back to that, being able to connect with them. I mean, I connect with them in different ways. Sometimes it's through my meditations and my self-hypnosis. I actually utilize all my hypnosis, hypno training. And so I hypnotize myself every night, every morning. And sometimes it's just, in random ways, like when I see a scroll, I hear a voice, which I'm now used to. And turns out that there's more than one voice. No, it's not multiple personalities. It's just them talking and, giving me a gentle nudge in the right direction, or helping me get back to the right direction and find a way back. I remember you taught us to practice the pause when yeah, that's right. The pause is there. Well, I'm glad you're not as irritated. That pause is interesting because that pause can do a lot. It can mean a lot too, and it can open the door for even more when we get out of the way of the information. And like the seeking and allowing, that makes a big difference too. When we're in that space where we just allow the information to reveal itself and we don't go looking for the answer, it comes even quicker as a rule, unless it's, divine timing has a lot to do with it. But I have really, really enjoyed allowing it to come instead of getting into that space of fear of it not coming, or, scarcity, lack, or the what ifs on the negative side of things. Now it's just the possibility is I open my mind to allow that information to come at its divine timing, and having, allowing that trust and confidence that in that you will get it, you won't miss it, is another step to expanding and exploring that process. Just like when you are learning to do the meditations, or you're learning to do these hypno sessions for yourself. And I really did have to teach myself this, because when I graduated from school, I was, in this great place that I had all these tools, but my network of people that I could have worked with wasn't a vast network at that time, because I was new to the industry. I was new to the practice, and I wasn't aware. I didn't believe that I could ask my mentor to help me outside of, that schooling and the time that we spent together, because we had built a friendship, and I didn't want to cross that line with that friendship and ever make her feel like, hey, this person's just showing up because she needs some help. And so I actually avoided asking for help for a long time. And then finally I was like, hey, I have a question. Am I allowed to ask this question? I don't want to ask the question, but I need to ask. And she actually laughed at me hysterically and was like, how long have you been sitting on this question for? And I was like, months. And she's like, oh my gosh. And she promptly told me that she would always be there and I could always ask questions, whether we were out having a coffee and hanging out, or just, so it opened the door, and I apparently had more than one question that I had been holding on to. But, I did a lot of my first part of my journey on my own, learning to do my own parts therapy, my own age regression, my own past life soul regressions, my alternate life regressions, going up and sitting with the guides and doing all of that. And so that I became, I could split myself in half, where I was the therapist and the client at the same time. And which became a beautiful tool for me, because I was able to do a lot of the outer layer work and then go and sit with my mentor and my colleagues that I had built relationships with, and we exchange with, or even just paid them to help me. But I was always at that point where it was the big one, or the big couple of them. And so I truly believe in learning, teaching yourself and learning this process can really open up doors when it comes to your own exploration and discovery of where you want to go, and what you need, what's in the way, and how to resolve it and shift that. And one of the things that like I said, on my TikTok, I never really thought about this until I was writing yesterday. By the way, I'm really excited to share these guided intentions with you, because that's what these scripts are: intentions to help you go to different and access different areas, such as the blueprint and the crystal palace of healing. And it was about the fact that when we first start, this process. It's foreign to us. It really is. What does your peace look like? Unless you've experienced it on a tangible, anchored moments in your life, a lot of us can't physically relate to that, or mentally relate to that. We're like, we're reaching for something that we're not really sure exists. And that can be a bit of a stall point for a lot of us. And we don't even realize it. I didn't, like I said, dawned on me to share this. And that stall point can be a bit of a wall that we hit with the process of allowing ourselves to get into a space where we can go a little bit deeper into that rest and connection, into that physical, mental rest, and so that we can get into that vibrational, energetic connection that we have into our light body or our sacred space where we connect with our guides and guardians or angels, or those light beings that are significant to you for your highest and greatest good. Or even just travel the ether and end up in different multiverses, end up in different universes, different planets, different lives, timelines. And so one of my suggestions are, if you're struggling with this and this is something that's kind of getting in the way, start with something you know. So if you know what it feels like to have your physical body feel at ease or soft or loose, like you imagine, for me, when I was thinking about an example of this, is having a hot tub, and you get out of that hot tub and you're just like cozy and warm, and everything's just a little bit looser. Your shoulders aren't here anymore. They're down like here. They've dropped in, and you just kind of feel like jello. Well, if that feeling is something you know well, use that feeling in the beginning of your trance work, your self work. Let that be your guide that opens the door for that next level of deep connection and understanding and opportunity. Or if you think about it, you go and get a massage or something, or that moment of suppleness, if that is what you can relate to, utilize that as a part of your first steps getting into that space. And the reason why is because we can relate to it. We understand it. We know we have a tangible sensation with it. We know what it feels like to have our shoulders loose. We also know what it feels like to be like this. So we can actually encourage and coach our body to go from here to here. We can encourage and coach our mind to go from active, like you got to get this done a million miles a minute, to, hey, let's put that on the bookshelf for a second. Let's put that on the side table. Or in your inner mind, imagine writing out your list of, shit you got to get done, and go, okay, I've written you down. I know that you'll be here when I get back, and I'm going to put you aside just for this moment, and I'll come back to you after this. And taking those little moments of imagery and those little moments of knowledge and knowingness that we have from our everyday life, and incorporating them into your deepening process to walk through your door into your sacred space of connection and calmness. And fight or flight, right? And letting that process be part of your guide so that it's less frustrating. It feels less like you're failing at the process, and you get less distraction because we have something that we can relate to. And when we can relate to it, because it's tangible, it's just a lot easier to allow ourselves to get into that space without fighting it, without getting it in a place of discord or distraction. So, and it sounds really simple, and it is simple, but it has profound results if you let yourself go there. Instead of, you'll get to that place, and maybe when you are in that place and your body's so loose and so supple and so soft, and your mind is actually at ease and isn't thinking about the 25,000 things that you got to do in 20 minutes, but giving your mind a break and giving yourself a break, then you find what peace means to you. You'll be like, okay, now that I'm here, what does this mean to me? And that's another question to ask, guys. When you are doing these adventures, asking yourself, what does this mean to me? And again, don't go seeking the answer and looking for it. Let it come to you. Let that information reveal itself to you. And if we can start asking these questions and just stepping back and going, okay, I'm ready to hear this. It also is another way of opening up your intuitive gifts to connecting with your guides. Because a lot of us, when we get into that space or into our higher selves, or even moving through past lives and alternate lives, multiverses, dimensions, wherever you need to go to discover what you need to discover that is going to help you in the very best way, we need to, we got to get away from like, oh my God, here we go, what's next? And that, that interruption, and just let it come to you. Let the whole picture come to you. And it may come in fragments, and then those fragments turn into like a movie scene, or you may be a full regression where you go into the scene and you see through your eyes. But letting yourself do that instead of trying to do it or pushing to do it, it will really change the experience and change the way you interact with that experience. Instead of it being flashes, it could be the whole scene. Instead of it being an impression, it could be the whole process, like life, So, and there's nothing wrong with something just being an impression, to be honest with you. I've gotten great insight out of like a simple moment of like, oh, that's why I was in that life. Perfect. Thank you. That's all I needed, and moving on. So, but I just wanted to share that tool with you guys, because I have had a couple comments lately of people saying, I'm really stuck and I can't get past this one space. I can never get into it as well as I want to. Our past lives, all Akashic records, or our other adventure. Well, there are the Akashic records. Everything is record. Everything is kept. So we are technically going in, but in finding that record keeping space, because I always look at it as filing cabinets or books. I was actually reading a journal the other day, Stacey, that I was in the Akashic records and the books, and they were handing it to me, and I was getting all the information I needed. But it's still our soul history, whether it be a different dimension, a different planet, a different existence, is all part of our soul history, and we can access all of that through the Akashic records. Absolutely, freaking lutely. And the information's there because our soul history is all recorded in the consciousness. So, but you don't have to go to the Akashic records to view to view it, to connect to it. Now, for some, going to the Akashic records is how that works for them, because that's what they're familiar, like that's how they feel safe doing it. And I love the Akashic records. Like I honestly forgot about that journey. It was 2006 when I did this. And so it's funny because I found this journal from 2006 to 2012, and I've got some great meditations in there that I was writing. Like I was ahead of where I was supposed to be, and it's kind of fun to get that knowledge that where I am is where I was always meant to be. Because I did not expect that at all. And yeah, the books and stuff were very insightful, but I don't actually go to that room all the time to find the next discovery. Now I do have clients that only go to that room, and they pick their book, and from their book they read their book and they go through their process, and then they from the book jump into the past life or alternate existence and timeline. So everybody's really unique on how they do that. And so it's really fun to actually be the guide in that process to see how you work. I've never attempted. I think the most things come to me in dreams because my guys know. I appreciate that stubbornness, Stacey. I get, I don't know if you guys are noticing, but how are your dreams right now? Because I know my premonition dreams are off the chart. They're insane every night right now. And it's not even like, hey, 20 years down the road premonition dreams. We're talking like next week. Yeah, it's a very interesting. That was one thing in the last 2 weeks I've really noticed, and I probably haven't talked about that either. Yeah, the dreaming right now, insane, and total like happening next week. Like just it is a week ahead, or I guess I'm a week behind, but I'm getting information for the week ahead and seeing that and fully aware. I'm like, oh, that's going to happen next week. This is awesome. And I haven't had premonition dreams for a while. That's kind of been on hold for me. But it's definitely in full force right now since basically Pluto went into retrograde. right? Until we're in there in that right now. We're in Cancer right now. And that just kind of opened up that door for those dreams. So it'll be interesting when we go back into that 20-year cycle to see what happens with that. But yeah, so my premonition dreams are wild, and it's just I'd love to say it was huge, significant things are going to happen next week, but it's just no, just being aware. So what I know is happening is opening the door with doing that live session on YouTube here with Jen Dodds and I, showing you guys what a session looks like. For me, that opened up the ability to like really be back in that space that I was as a kid, where everything just kind of simultaneously happened at once, and be okay with that. And the next one I know is going to be the big door. So we are going to be doing another live hypnosis session on releasing some stuff around receiving and the cost associated to receiving abundance. And we are going to design that I will do the process, but we're also going to hold space for those of you who may be feeling that resonates with you, to do your own healing during this session as well. So there's some really cool things happening in the next couple of weeks. We just got to set a date and go from there. And that's going to be the fun part about that. So, because I got some really great feedback from that last live session, that a lot of people resonated with the vibration of that existence on the fear of loss and stuff, and were able to and felt themselves shift at a vibrational level, which then has translated down to the physical. So we thought it would be kind of fun to offer that opportunity again, is come on the journey and know that like the past life is mine, but in that same vibrational energetic tone, offering and holding space for that healing to happen for those who feel connected to it, and to the theme and to the reoccurring pattern. And that way, doing that healing at that level and allowing it to kind of download into your physical, tangible world, and start to reveal or release things that can be revealed or released for your highest good. So we're going to be having some fun with this, helping create a little more healing for everybody in just in that kind of space. And then we're going to do some channeling at the same time. So we will also be channeling at the end. We're going to come up with some questions. You guys are going to be able to ask questions for your own insight, and go from there. So some fun stuff happening. But yeah, so if you guys are really feeling that your dreams are coming in right now, I always suggest make a dream journal or have your phone nearby so you can text message it to yourself, because that's what I do. However, I am making an effort to physically write a little bit more. I miss that. I used to do that so much, and I've been going back to some of those old journals and really discovering the insight that I had at that young age, that I didn't realize I had. It was just thoughts in my head, so I always jotted them down because they were always so loud. And looking back, I'm like, I'm gonna use that now. That was great. So yeah. Set the date and I'll make sure to tune. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I love that. Yeah. I'm just waiting. I got to talk to Jen. We got to set a couple dates. And because I brought this idea up of creating space so that people could vibrationally heal through it. And that way, maybe it makes the journey a little less daunting for everybody else, and see what that kind of change can do. And then also getting into that continuing going on with the channeling part of it, where she's going to guide. I'm going to go into that space and do that channeling. It's something I used to do with two girlfriends of mine. They were these beautiful mediums, and one is here on this side of the world, one is on the other side, and we used to do this quite a bit. And there's but I only ever did it with them, so it'll be very interesting to do it in this setting. I'm excited for it because we got some great stuff when we were doing it, just to see what positive information we could gather to help us move forward. And so, yeah, it's going to be fun, exciting couple of weeks. And then we're also here on the show all the time. So, anyhow, that is what we wanted to talk about this morning. Just kind of inspire a little bit of tools to help you guys if you're feeling stuck in your own personal practice, and meditation, hypnosis practice, or even just trance practice. Go back to the basics, go back to something that you concrete know, and have that be your guide into that deeper level of rest and openness and groundedness and centeredness and harmony and connection. And be open to see how your guides communicate with you. I mean, I'm always the one that always sets that intention for my highest good, not the light being's highest good in that way. And I just sit back, let it come. Notice what you notice. And if you don't notice anything the first time, that's okay. You don't need to. it will start to happen, and it will happen. And then it's okay if it jolts you out of it for a second, because it's something we have to get, we begin to remember, and we start to get used to again. And as we get used to it, it gets easier. I have someone I'm working with, and they're so excited to go and see the adventure that every time they begin the adventure, they jump up out of the chair and like, oh my God. And it's amazing. But then there's, that person's like, oh, I can't get back. I think it's all, that excitement. And that excitement is normal. For years since I moved in with the folks, I really miss it. I know, right? Well, hopefully the unstuck part will start to happen. But yeah, be excited about the process. Let the excitement happen. And know if you get excited and it interrupts the moment, it's all good, because you'll get back to that moment. You got there. Now it's just getting back there and allowing yourself to be there. And I still have moments where I get excited, so excited that I jump myself out of the past life, because I'm like, oh, look at that. Yeah. Oh, I got to go back. So, oh yeah, I totally get it. I will never forget the meditation we did. Yeah. That was a really cool meditation, actually. I really like that meditation. I still actually utilize that meditation for myself every once in a while. It was very cool, and it still is. Well, we can do it again then. That's the fun part. That's the best part. If you guys want me to run through that, I can connect with, and we could, I changed it a little bit, but we could definitely do that again. I got some add-ons to that meditation. If that's something you want, Stacey, we can do that on Meditation Mondays. We'll make that happen. We have to redo the crown chakra, because on YouTube, it totally, like I said, we had a power outage. I was in the flow, and I'm like, and I didn't even notice it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. This room seems a little bit darker. And yeah, it was only on TikTok that we were still going, because my phone tapped into the cellular data of Rogers. So we will redo it. Yeah. The visualization in that meditation was really good, and it was really easy to connect with. Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I still utilize it, and use it sometimes for my own journey, and especially when I want to sit with my chakras, and I really want to tap into what's going on in their energetic fields individually. So that one I do really enjoy. All right, guys. So thank you for being here this morning. I super appreciate all of your love, your connection. For those of you celebrating July 4th next week, happy July 4th. Those of you here in Canada celebrating July 1st, well, happy July 1st. But, I don't know if it's, we're going to leave it on that. So thank you for your time and energy. You are amazing. Alex, Purple Princess, Stacy, everybody joining here on TikTok. You are so good, and I appreciate all your support, and I'm very grateful for all of you. I hope that you have an amazing weekend. Enjoy, and remember, wherever you're at in your journey, wherever you may be, it's going to work itself out. Even if being stuck doesn't mean you'll be stuck forever. It's just one point. There's an opportunity to learn, or being in a moment where you're starting to explore this. However, wherever you're at in your point of your progression, you got this. Ask the answers to come, and give yourself permission to allow. When we give ourselves permission to allow, we open up a door that is very different than before, because we are taught to go after things. We're taught to stay in action, to always go, 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 go. With connecting with our inner and higher self, sometimes it's about being in a space of allowance, and we receive so much more. So, and if you're not sure how you're going to receive, that's okay too, because you're about to learn. It's about to come through. And if it's different than everybody else in the world, that's okay too, because that means that is your unique way of connecting. And that's what matters. It's not how everybody else does it in the world. It's about how you do it, and learning about how you do it, because how you do it is perfect for you. And that may be like everybody else in its like general way, but you will have a unique blend to it. It will be your unique connection. And remember that it's perfect. It doesn't have to change unless you want to change it, because if it's working for you, then go with it. All right. There's the weekend love. Have a good one, everyone. Talk to you soon, and I will see you Monday. Cheers.